Sit down, Bill. Well, today now we're going to shoot some more takeoffs and landings. But first I want to go through some of these things with you, and let's sort of bring to a head everything that we've done thus far. You've had all your dual, 5.2 hours of dual. You've had 11 hours of link training. Your ground school has been coming along fine. Passed your CAR. Now it looks like you're getting to the point where your takeoffs and landings are running along to where I think you might be able to go solo. If I can see 3 or 4 good ones.
3 or 4 good ones, I get the solo today, huh, Jack?
Well, it all depends. Now, what I'd like to see you do is get out there without any assist from me. I don't want you to turn around and ask me where the wind is from. I don't want you to ask me, should I take off from this runway or anything. The flight is completely yours. And as soon as I can be assured that the flight is yours and that you can take the aircraft off and land it safely, then I'll get out. Okay?
Okay, Jack.
Now, let's go through some of the things that you'll be running into today. You're over here on the ramp. You'll be taxiing out. By the way, where is our wind today?
Southwest.
Southwest. So you'll be using what runway?
Runway 22.
Okay. All right, then taxi out into a position here, just short of the runway. Make your run up. And taxi in position. We'll take off from the end of the runway. Initiate your takeoff. And let's go through this traffic pattern now so it's fresh in your mind. As you get out here to an altitude of 400 feet, what do you do there?
Make a left-hand turn.
Okay. And that is a 90-degree turn, right? Okay. Now, you continue climbing or do you level off at that point?
Continue climbing.
All right, after you've made your 90-degree turn, that's it. Continue to climb. And where will you place your downwind leg then?
Approximately at the end of this runway, 3-1.
Okay, fine. All right, you'll turn in on downwind leg. Now, what do you have to be careful of right here?
That's the entryway for other aircraft in the traffic pattern.
That's your 45-degree entry leg coming in here. All right, once you've cleared that, then go ahead and turn in on downwind. Now, let's go back a little bit. What if an aircraft is coming in on this entry leg? Should you turn in even though you arrived at your 400-foot altitude?
We'll continue to go out a little further and then turn.
That's right. Continue out on your takeoff leg until you have adequate spacing for the other aircraft. Then turn in on your crosswind, and if your spacing is proper, go ahead and turn in on downwind. All right, let's move in on downwind leg here. What do you do at this point? Midpoint down the runway.
Turn on the carburetor heat.
Okay, carburetor heat. And at this point, opposite your desired point of touchdown.
That's where you cut the engine.
Okay, you'll close your throttle at that point and set it up in your glide for the landing. Now, we've turned on base leg. At this point, what do you want to be careful of?
Approaching aircraft.
Okay, remember Ozark is going to be making a long final approach, or any other large type aircraft. So watch for it. Never turn on that final approach until you ascertain there's no one on final, a long final. All right, let's take a situation here. What if Ozark is coming in and you're all set up, ready to turn in on final? What do you do?
Start the climb and continue on around.
Okay, the go-around procedure. Turn up here, give her full throttle, set it up in a climb, and climb back up to traffic altitude of 800 feet. Continue climbing, and space yourself off to the right of the runway so that you can keep these aircraft down here in sight. They might have to make a go-around too, you see. If they were climbing up, if you didn't keep your eye on them, it's possible, see, that you might get too close. So keep your spacing here. If he shouldn't have to make a go-around, it might be wise for you to break out of the traffic pattern completely. If such is the case, then take the aircraft around and re-enter on the 45-degree entry leg. Okay, now, are there any other questions?
What's this runway 22 and 4? I noticed they're numbered, but what does it stand for?
Okay, runway 22. If you would add another 0, it would be 220. Now, if you were to take a magnetic or a compass rose, you would see that north starts out 0 degrees, 360 degrees, and east is 9 degrees, south 180, and west 270 degrees. These runways are numbered in relationship to that compass rose. 22 at a 0, 220 degrees, 40 degrees to the right of south. Here, over here, you see is 1/8, which is going to the south. 3/6 is going to the north.
I see.
Okay? Now, be careful when you get in here for your touchdown. Be careful that no aircraft are landing on this, and clear yourself on after touchdown as well. Now, I'll place, if I see that you're making your touchdowns, your landing's okay, we'll pull off to the runway, off on the side here. I'll climb out, go over here, and clear the final approach. If it's cleared, I'll wave you on. In that case, taxi into position, hold until I wave you on. Then you'll know it's okay to initiate your takeoff or your solo takeoff. And I want you to make, if you do go solo, make 3 takeoffs and 3 landings. Okay?
Sure thing.
All right. Any other questions?
Not a one, Jack.
All right. If you make 3 good ones, 3 or 4 good ones in a row, I'll climb out. Okay?
Fine.
Let's go. Jerry.
Hi, Jack, how are you, fella?
Fine. What are you doing down here?
Oh, I was asked to come down here to give a little talk on parachutes to the flying club here at the University of Illinois Airforce.
Well, good.
See, I'd like you to meet Sergeant Lacer here. He's down here with me.
Sergeant Lacer? Glad to know you. Excuse me. Bill, why don't you go ahead and pre-flight the aircraft, and I'll be right out.
Okay, Jack.
Well, this, are you going to be here very long?
Well, it'll take us about an hour to put over the presentation that we have lined up for the boys.
Oh, well, that's swell. See, I'm going to try and solo out a student here. It'll take me about an hour, too. Why don't we have coffee afterwards?
I'll tell you what, if I'm still here, we'll have one.
Okay, swell.
I'll see you.
Good seeing you again, Jerry.
Look.
Now's the payoff. That's it. Use that stick forward. Feeling bouncy now, huh? She's ready to go, Bill. Get her off. Good. Good. Keep those wings level. Fine. Easy. No rush, no rush. That's it, hold it off. Hold it off. Fine, nice. Keep those aircraft clear, Bill. Final approach, now the payoff. Keep her lined up. Watch it. Square it away, Bill. Square it away. That's it. Keep her lined up. Round out. Hold it off now. Nice. Very nice.
Pardon me, Mr. Ramicus. I'd like to ask you a question before I leave this afternoon. Now, does a pilot who's wearing the new type of chute have to unplug his oxygen line from the plane and plug it into the chute before he bails out?
Oh, yes, he does. That is a manual control, and he has to manually disconnect it from the system, oxygen system in the airplane, and then disconnect the oxygen bottle that is in the parachute, the bailout bottle, to the oxygen mask that he's wearing.
Well, I see. Thank you. And thanks a lot for coming out to speak to the glider.
Well, I'm certainly glad I had the opportunity to come out here.
Thank you, sir. See you around the
Sure
field.
thing.
Oh, we're back, Jerry.
How was it, Jack?
Fine. He did the job.
Is this your boy?
Yeah. Jerry, I'd like to have you meet Bill Huber,
Well, how are you,
Mr.
Bill?
Ramagus,
Hi, Mr. Ramagus.
and Sergeant Lacer.
Sergeant Later, how are you today?
Mr. Ramagus is the officer in charge of parachutes and survival at Chanute Air Force Base.
Pretty nice job.
It is. It's a rather interesting job, Bill.
You might enjoy listening to some of his stories and what he works with.
Look, we have a few minutes. Why don't you fellas sit down here and have a cup of
Enjoy
coffee
that,
with us?
Jerry.
Now, there's an example of what we were talking about this afternoon.
What do you mean?
The way you threw that parachute down on the floor.
What's the matter with that?
Well, do you realize what could have happened throwing that chute on the floor?
Not much.
Well, I'm afraid you're wrong, Bill.
I have no idea what could happen.
Well, you could have bent the ripcord pin.
What would that cause?
Well, if the ripcord pin was bent, a man would have a hard time pulling the ripcord and releasing the canopy from the pack. Therefore, if he had to use it, it may not open.
May I take your order?
Yes, coffee, cream and sugar.
Coffee, cream, and sugar, too.
Bill, I was giving a talk here to the flying club here at the University of Illinois Airport. And let me show you a picture that I brought along here to show these fellas what I just mentioned to you about bent ripcord pin. Now, in this picture here, you'll see how this ripcord pin is bent.
You mean just that little pin being bent a little bit would keep the parachute from opening?
Well, not keep the parachute from opening. It would keep the pilot or the person who was wearing this parachute from pulling the ripcord. This pin being bent would jam in this cone, and therefore he could not pull the ripcord pin and release the canopy that's in the pack.
Didn't have any idea that could happen.
Well, that's one of the things that could happen to misuse or malhandling of a parachute. Now here's another picture that was taken of suspension lines. The lines on a parachute that was handled improperly. Now, if you'll notice here, these lines are wrapped around this stow with suspension lines. Now, that could cause a half hitch. And if that was at the skirt of the canopy, why, that would stop the canopy from opening fully. And could cause a man to fall a little more rapidly or probably too fast. And he could result in serious injury or even possibly death.
Jerry, Bill was doing something today that you might be interested in. I noticed that before he went out to the aircraft, he laid his parachute down by the aircraft while he was pre-flighting it.
Well, now, some people don't realize how important to the proper use or the proper chair of a parachute is. Now, laying that chute on the runway isn't the thing to do. Why? Well, there might be engine oil on the runway. There may be hydraulic fluid, or there may be battery acid. Now, if battery acid was on the parachute, you wouldn't notice it because it doesn't react rapidly. But you got in the airplane, and the battery acid ate through the pack into the canopy of the parachute. Now, should you have to utilize that parachute, all those holes that are in the canopy, because there would be several of them because of the way the canopy is folded. When that parachute opened, why, from all those holes, your panels would tear out, again causing a man to fall too rapidly. Now, oil, the chances are lesser, but it could cause several of the panels to stick together, probably create a streamer in some cases, depending on the amount of oil that is on the canopy.
Is it all right to hang it on the back of the chair?
It's all right to handle a parachute or hang it from the leg straps. Now, the important thing in handling and caring for a parachute is handle it gently. You're dealing with a life-saving device. It may save your life. It's very important. Now, we stressed that thoroughly here to this flying club this afternoon, and they were really interested. I was amazed at the interest these boys showed. Now, we have a few minutes here before our transportation arrives. If you'd be interested, I'd like to show you some of the equipment that we have here.
Oh, sure would.
Come on, let's go. Now, we brought some of the newest type of equipment that we have out at Chanute. Jack, does this look familiar?
This does look familiar, Jerry.
You were in the cadets, weren't you?
Yeah?
Well, I'm afraid that this parachute looks like the old type in resemblance only.
I suppose.
Here, you notice in the old type packs you had the metal stiffeners in the back of the parachute. You don't feel that in this one, do you?
No. What they do? Do away with them?
They did away with them. And in the old back type chute, you had a lump right in the middle of your back. You don't feel that here, do you?
Oh, that used to be the pilot chute, didn't it?
Along with the way the
fold up.
way the skirt, the bottom of the skirt was folded.
Yeah.
Well, they've done away with that. They've made this parachute a lot lighter. They've also put an oxygen bailout bottle right into the parachute. They've made this parachute out of nylon, making it a lot lighter. This parachute with the oxygen bottle and the release weighs approximately the same as the old type parachute without the oxygen bottle. If you recall the old days where the men had to carry the oxygen bottle, bailout bottle, along with them in their hand.
Now they've got it right in here.
Right in there. Have you, here, let me snap this and then we'll try it on.
Okay.
I'd like you to try this thing on and have your comparison. Compare this with the old type that you used to wear, Jack.
Say, Jerry, this is a comfortable one.
It really is. They're designing, the Air Force is developing parachutes that they take into consideration the pilot's comfort because of the small compartments in these high-speed jet aircraft, airplanes, and the length of time that he has to spend in one position. They don't want something that is cumbersome, that'll have a knot in his back and cramp him up. He has to be active and ready at all times. You notice how lightweight this webbing is?
Yeah.
It's a lot lighter than the old type webbing, but it's just as strong, if not stronger.
You know, I like the backpack as against the seat pack. You can move around a lot better.
Well,
It's made out of nylon?
it is all nylon, the pack. Now, the back style is fine for what it's intended for, but right here we have another type chute. This is a chest style chute. Now, it's designed for people, personnel in the airplanes, that are in cramped quarters and have to move about. Now, a pilot doesn't do much moving about. But, say you're a gunner or a navigator or a bombardier, he has to move about. If he had a parachute on his back or hanging on his chest, why, it'd be inconvenience. It would. He might hit a switch here or there, so it might create a hazardous condition. So they've developed this chest-style parachute. Now, here, Bill. Try this. Now, you'll notice that the parachute is not connected to the harness on this particular parachute.
I was wondering where it was.
Now, this this parachute is placed in a convenient location. And should the man wearing this particular chute be required to leave the aircraft, why, he can just pick up this parachute. Let me show you how simple. Oh, a word of caution here. The pilot has to brief all crew members prior to going on the flight. And in that briefing, he will specify strongly that the ripcord handle will always be on the right side of the man. Because most of you people are right-handed, and the ripcord handle is placed on the right side. Now, to put this parachute on the harness, all you have to do is snap it.
Falls right into place.
Falls right into place.
Jerry, these look familiar, but this is completely new. Now, what is this thing?
This is new. Really new. I'm glad you asked, Jack. Here, let's take this over you, Bill. This is what the arming cable for the automatic ripcord release. Never heard of it, have you?
Can't say I have.
It's something really new in the Air Force. In some instances, a pilot may be unconscious or get knocked unconscious or lose consciousness while he's falling, or get knocked out while he's leaving the airplane.
Especially when it's an ejection.
Right. So when he leaves the airplane, this arming cable is pulled, and the automatic ripcord release pulls the ripcord. Now, he can be unconscious, it'll still pull. Here, let me show you. We brought a mock-up here from Chanute, one we used to train the students out there. Here it is, mounted on the board.
You mean this is inside a parachute?
That's mounted inside the parachute. Now, what does this thing here do? Well, first of all, you have an altimeter setting, an altitude setting.
I see.
And over here you have a timer setting. Now, when the pilot goes to draw his parachute, or a crew member draws his parachute, the man that issues him the parachute says, what is the highest terrain you're going to fly over? Well, it's not uncommon for a man to leave here and fly to California. He'll say, well, approximately 10,000 feet. So the man issuing the parachute will set this at 15,000 feet. 5,000 feet above the highest terrain that the man is going to fly over. That is a safety factor. Now, he'll also ask him what type of aircraft or airplane you're flying. If it has the ejection seat, he will set this timer at 2 seconds. But if it's a conventional aircraft where you might have to bail out with no ejection seat, it'll be set at 5.
That's to give him more time to clear the aircraft.
Right.
I see.
Now, here's a picture here. Let me show you this. This airplane is flying at 40,000 feet. The highest terrain that they're going to fly over, 10,000. So it was set at 15. At 40,000 feet, something is wrong, or they develop trouble, and the crew have to leave the airplane. All right. In a fighter-type aircraft, he would have a 2-second setting, be set at 15,000 feet, 5,000 feet above the highest terrain. He ejects. Now, he could be knocked out unconscious. When he leaves the seat, there's a lanyard that is attached to the seat and automatically pulls the arming cable on this automatic release. He will fall down to 1,500 feet above the setting. Well, the setting was 15,000, it would be 16,500 feet. Then the seconds would click off. So when he reaches 15,000 feet, the setting on the altimeter setting, the parachute will open. Now that's a 5,000 feet clearance.
Safety factor.
It's a safety factor. If he was over the highest terrain at that particular moment, he would fall 5,000 feet. So it is a great safety factor.
What if I don't get over 15,000 feet? Will that altimeter setting make some difference?
The altimeter setting, say on the ejection seat, 2 seconds. If he's flying at 10,000 feet and he has to eject 2 seconds after he ejects, because we have a timer that's set for 2 seconds.
Well, they work in conjunction.
They work in conjunction. One will override the other, depending on the altitude and the time. So he will still have 2 seconds to clear the seat.
I get you.
Now, getting back to this gadget here. This is the arming cable. This has to be pulled. Now here, would you pull this, Bill? Now if you notice here, it's clicking off the seconds, 2, 1, 0. And it pulls the ripcord release.
Say, that really packs a wallop, too.
Yeah.
It really does. It has about a 90-pound pull on this.
90 pounds?
90 pounds. Now, it doesn't require 90 pounds, but you like to be safe.
Well, that's an adequate safety factor.
It really is. Now, getting back to this chute here. I showed you a while ago, Bill, on that other seat that the pin may jam on the cone. Well, on this particular chute, you have no metal cone. You have a webbing, and you have a ripcord pin. And it cannot jam. If it bends, it won't be as dangerous as it would on the chute that you threw on the floor.
Would this automatic release take and straighten out a pin if it was slightly bent?
I really don't know.
I see.
Now, this has an automatic timer, and I'd like to show you the inside of the chute. Would you pull this arming cable here? Now, this is set, I think, for 5 seconds. Now, this thing will pop up in the air. You watch it. Now, that is the pilot parachute. This will come out and pull the rest of this parachute out. Now, I told you a while ago that this parachute is new. Now, what are the features that this parachute has that the other one doesn't? There is very little opening shock on this parachute. The opening shock is deployed throughout the opening stages.
Now, how do they arrive at that, Jerry?
Well, now, just go out of here slowly and I'll show you. See how this is packed here? In an accordion fold.
Oh, yes.
Now, then it has to pull this deformant bag out. And there are a couple of ties here that has to be broken on when this pulls out. So that breaking this cord will absorb some of the opening shock. That's your first stage. All right. Then it pulls this out. Now, if you notice here how these suspension lines are stored in these retainer loops, and every time one of them pulls out, it is absorbing part of the opening shock.
I see.
And then part of your canopy is in here. And the pilot parachute will pull this out. Every one of these lines will be deployed, and the last stow opens the skirt of the canopy. Then the canopy comes out. It has to break these two ties here. And that again absorbs some of the opening shock.
You sure got that down to a fine science.
They really have. Now, let me show you something else. A lot of people get hurt here on the oscillation.
Pardon me, sir. Transportation camera ready to go.
All right, Sergeant Laser, thanks a lot. Would you mind loading some of this equipment? If you notice here how this skirt is made, prevents oscillation. If the man swings this way, why this arrested, and if he swings the other way, why the other one's arrested. Now, I'm sorry I don't have more time. We have to leave, but I understand that there's going to be a tour at Chattanooga Air Force Base next week by a group of the advanced ROTC cadets. I wonder if you could probably join that group. We'd like to see you out there. I understand General Minton will take the tour.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Well-
I'd like to go on it.
Why don't you try?
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm certainly glad I met you, Bill.
Glad to
And
meet you too, Mr. Ramicus.
come on out and see us.
Oh, okay.
You better handle that parachute more carefully.
Yes, sir.
And Jerry, it's good seeing you again.
All right.
And thanks for the lecture.
Sure, Jack. See.
Bye.
Flight Time was a University of Illinois television production.